So thanks so much. What we're going to do over the next 45 minutes or so is go through OPENPhysEd.org, talk about what the project is, and how you can get involved and how you can utilize the resources that we're providing. So I'm housed in SUNY Cortland's Physical Education Department. Welcome to the webinar from Central New York. It finally feels like spring here. The snow is starting to melt. And U.S. Games has really made a big commitment to making sure that the Open Curriculum Project was done really, really well with quality people involved. I've been very lucky to have worked with a lot of folks, and I'll introduce you to those cast of characters towards the end of the webinar. But this is really a public service of U.S. Games, and U.S. Games has grown, via great customer service and reliable delivery over the last, 20 years. And they've made a commitment over the last few years to really become a partner for teachers and to focus on how we can best serve teachers from a holistic perspective. And Open is one piece of that puzzle. There'll be more that we'll introduce over the next couple of years. So a couple of questions that I want to answer just to make sure that everybody understands what Open is. Open is a curriculum project. So the concept is we're creating curriculum tools backward designed from the Shape America national standards and grade level outcomes. And so using those outcomes, and if you've all worked with the outcomes before, you'll know that there are a lot of them. And so we're working now on creating learning modules that will meet every single outcome from K all the way through grade 12, but we've started now just with elementary. So because we haven't completed the full scope and sequence, and I'll show you the modules in just a minute that we have completed, we're not technically a curriculum yet, but it's a curriculum project that will result in a full scope and sequence from grade K all the way through grade 12. And so it's exciting. It's a really fun project to work on, and it's growing pretty quickly. So at the end of this month, we will post 2 more modules, and I'll show you where you can find out what modules are coming up. And we'll post 2 more in May, and then basically we'll post modules at the rate of 1 module per month during the school year. And then we'll launch the secondary project early in 2016. So secondary folks have that to look forward to. So the other question a lot of people ask is, well, what does open source mean? So open source for us means a couple of things. First of all, it means that it's free. It's completely free to the entire U.S. community. And there's no obligation other than you have to create a login, but that login is free. We don't ask you for any payment information. You don't have to buy any equipment packs or anything like that to gain access. All you have to do is log into the site and start using it. And so, again, the commitment from U.S. Games is that it will always remain free, and my plan is to be here for quite some time. So that's a little bit about that. The other piece of open source is the idea that for the first time, because we don't have to worry about really protecting the content for sale, we've been able to provide all of the documents in Microsoft Word format. So you're going to be able to go in, and if you don't like our wording, or maybe some of the text doesn't quite fit to the outcomes you're trying to work towards, whatever the case may be, you're going to be completely free to go in and make modifications as you need to for your learning environment and for your students. So that's a really exciting piece of this. And then finally, we're creating a mechanism for you to contribute to our project. And I'll show you that again towards the end of the webinar today. But if you're interested in becoming a part of this project, we provide templates for you to use to create activities and then eventually to create modules. And then we have a development council that will go through and review those to make sure that they fit with the scope and sequence that we're working on, and they're truly backward designed and that sort of thing. And then once they've gone through our process and we've made revisions, we'll publish those and give folks credit similar to how a professional journal might work. So if you would, submit an article to a professional journal. So we're really excited about that piece too, and we've already started to receive some contributions from members of the PE community. So we're really excited. All right, so that's enough of the introduction. I'm going to take a minute to start to navigate through the site. First, I want to make sure you understand kind of the login process. It's really very easy. We haven't had many problems with it at all. So in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see it says login for free. When I click on it or hover over it, it'll give me 2 drop-down options. And I'm going to click Sign Up Now to show you what that form looks like. So you can see it's really very basic. You create a username, give us your email, your password, confirm the password. And then if you'd like to, you can tell us what your student enrollment is and what your district name is, but that's optional information. And then you would hit submit, and your account would be instantly created, and you would be able to go in and access all of the content. So I already have an account. I'm going to go in and say log in. And as I go in, I'm going to put in my username. I already have saved my password. I'm going to say remember me so that it'll keep me logged in. If you ever lose your password, it's pretty easy. You just hit lost your password and it'll send you through and allow you to create a new password. So I'm going to log in. And this is where I started, so that's where it takes me back to. I'm going to come up here and go back to our home page, and you can see it says here log out. So that indicates that I'm ready to access all of the content. So to navigate through the home page, it's really pretty easy to get to different things. You can see our navigation menu at the top, and we'll walk through that in just a little bit. Before we scroll down, though, I want to show you a little bit about the responsive design of the site. So if I go in and I squeeze the website down, this is as far as my browser will take me. Let's get that off the screen. And you can see that this is really what it'll look like if it's on your iPhone. So the wonderful thing about the responsive design is that all of the pages will respond to whatever device you're on. So whether it's a tablet, whether it's a phone, or whether it's your computer, the site will operate properly. And a lot of folks have said, are you going to have an open app? And we're considering different options for that. But primarily, our main goal was to make the site so responsive that you'd be able to access the content from any device. So that's how the responsive nature of that works. So I'm going to go ahead and let it know that we are still on a computer screen. Start back up at the top. And so our sliders have been going through. You probably have seen those long enough. As I scroll down, there are some main links here. You can get to all of our curriculum resources. You can learn about professional development opportunities. You can take a look at open equipment packs. Becoming an open partner, so this is really for community organizations, foundations who are interested in helping districts get professional development as well as equipment. Contribute to Open, so this will allow you to go ahead and grab those templates and send us your content that we could publish. And then About Open, and that will give you some more information about how to contact us, who we are, and the folks that are involved in the creation of Open. Many of you are familiar with the US Games blog that I started about 7 months ago. That blog has migrated over to Open, so it's now the Open blog. And if you scroll down from the home page, you'll be able to take a look at the most recent posts, and you can go in and get all of the posts that I've set up since last September or October, and as well as any of our guest bloggers that have given us content as well. And then finally, if you go down, each week we go through and we rearrange the order of the modules that appear here, and this is really based on the number of downloads of files for each module. So you can kind of see what other folks are using. Foot Skills right now is the most popular, and then Games for Learning Basketball, March Madness might have something to do with that. So the top 6 appear there. And then finally, this is the footer of every page, and you can kind of see some of our recent posts, as well as some of the stuff that's happening on Twitter, some of our conferences and workshops that are coming up. And then also we want to make sure we give proper credit to Shape America. So on every page, we give you the information about the Shape America standards and grade level outcomes. So that's the home page. I'm going to scroll back to the top really quick. What I want to do now is take you into the actual curriculum resources and show you how that works. So if I go up here to the curriculum resources menu, right now we have our K2 modules, our 3-5 modules, but again, those will be built out over time because this is a project that will eventually go K through 12. As I go through, I can kind of navigate through the menu and I can hop into each individual module if I want to kind of quickly jump into those. If I want to see the entire menu of modules, I can just click on Curriculum Resources, and that will take me to a page that really is the landing page for all of our curriculum content. So the very first thing that you're going to see is an Open Users Guide. So you could click on that, and it will pop up and show you a PDF version of a user's guide that will kind of take you through you know, each part of the actual curriculum documents. So you can scroll through. This is a PDF. You can scroll through and it'll tell you a little bit about how this was all built out and how you would navigate the actual documents. So I'm going to X out of that. To the right of our guide, you're going to see coming soon. So this will give you a heads up on the modules that will be coming. So like I said before, a little bit later this month, we're going to launch our locomotor and manipulative skills module for our K through 2 program, and then the fitness knowledge module for grades 3 through 5. And then in May, we'll have a dance module that Artie Camilla is putting together for us, and that'll be available for both K2 and 3 through 5. As I scroll down, you'll see the different module icons that you can access, and then as I navigate over it, it'll provide a place for you to go in and actually link to it. So I'm going to click on the little link icon, and that's going to take me directly into the page for primary foot skills. So there's a very quick overview. All of the document links are provided right here for you. One thing that a lot of folks have found really helpful is if you want the entire module in a PDF packet, you can click on this thing right here that says Complete Module Packet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and it will download absolutely all of the files in one PDF booklet to make it easy for you to go ahead and print the module. And so you can kind of see the cover page, and then we can scroll through and take a look at how this is laid out. But I'm going to go through each of the individual files for you. One thing that you might have noticed is that when it opens in a Dropbox viewer. And this is probably one of the things that takes people a little bit of time to get used to. If you're a Dropbox user, you're probably already fairly used to it. If you're not a Dropbox user, it's going to prompt you to sign up for Dropbox. You don't have to sign up for Dropbox in order to access it. If it prompts you to sign up, there will be an option that it says, no thanks, take me to the file. You just click on that and it'll take you right to the file. You can see the activity plans. Again, each activity plan, there's a link for PDF as well as Word. So let's go into the treasure hunt activity here. I'm going to click on the Word document. Now, when I click on the Word document, it's going to open it up in this Dropbox viewer again. And so you can see it opened a new tab, and here's the viewer. Well, this is all fine and dandy. I can read it. It looks great, but I can't edit it. Right? So what you're going to want to do is up in the upper right-hand corner, go ahead where it says download and say direct download if you want to save it to a file that's specific to your computer, or you can say save to my Dropbox and it'll send it directly to your Dropbox so that it's accessible on all your computers and all your devices. That's one great thing that I love about Dropbox is that as soon as I do that, it's available on my tablet, it's available on my phone, as well as the two computers that I use, my office computer and my laptop. So I'm going to go ahead and say direct download. And I'm not logged into my Dropbox account, so here's that kind of message that Dropbox is really hoping we sign up for an account. I'm going to say no thanks, continue to download. Click on that. And I'm using Firefox right now. So Firefox asks me what I want to do. Some other browsers may not. It may just, there may be a default. It may open up in Word or save to your downloads file or something like that. So whatever your default download is for the browser that you're using, that's how these files are going to be handled. But in Firefox, it asks me what I want to do. I could choose to open it with a different application. I could save it directly to my computer. But what I'm going to do is just open it. So I hit OK. And you can see that it opens directly in Microsoft Word. So one thing that I'm really excited about with this project is really just the investment that US Games has made in making sure that this content is truly accessible to everybody and is really realizable so that teachers can get the most useful, the most usefulness out of it. So I think that the layout of this just worked really, really well. We have a young Microsoft Word specialist, Jennifer, who did a phenomenal job laying these out and making sure that they work and they look good across platforms. So you can go into any one of these boxes and you can go in and you can make edits anywhere you want. You can cut and paste stuff. You can rearrange things. However you really want to do that is fine. Now, if you want to use it as is, you can just go ahead and say print, and it'll print it out for you as well. So really quickly, I want to take you through some of the features of the actual activity. So I'm going to make that a little bit bigger for folks to see more clearly. And you can see that again, this is a foot skills activity. Treasure hunt is the name of the activity. One thing we're really adamant about is making sure that we write student targets that address the outcomes that we're working towards. So you can see we have a skill outcome, a cognitive outcome, a fitness-based outcome, and then an outcome for personal and social responsibility. And all of these outcomes are written in first-person language. So I've already talked to a number of teachers who have said what they've been doing is just go ahead and copying this, and then they can go in and create a new document. And then let's just make this gigantic and make it a nice poster so that we can post this, directly in the gym. As soon as the students walk in, they can see the outcome that I want them to meet for that day. So I'm not going to save that, but that's just a little example of how some folks have been using those student targets, which is really pretty cool. Teaching cues, so really basic PE stuff, making sure that we provide you some teaching cues for some of the skills that we're working on. Activity setup and procedure, so what equipment do you need, what does the setup look like, and what the procedures are. And then each activity also has grade level progressions. So we've worked through and talking with our team of developers, as well as working directly with the outcomes, we've said, well, what does this activity need to look like at grade K, grade 1, grade 2, and we've given you a really short description on how that looks for each grade level. So that's the front page of the activity. On the back page, there's also some really cool stuff. So challenge progressions and modifications. So, what if you have a second grader who's really, he's been playing youth soccer or she's been playing youth soccer, since they were in kindergarten and they're really at a 4th grade level. How might we challenge those students? And then modifications for students who may be having some more problems. The next piece has been really helpful for a lot of folks, and I'll show you how we extend this in some of our other tools, but it's academic language. So we've taken a look at the activity and really pulled out some of the academic language that we believe you need to focus on with this particular grade level in this activity. Now, of course, if you decide that maybe you want to add more words, you could certainly go in and you could type this in here and maybe It's as basic as making sure students understand what physical activity is. So you can go in there, type that in, save it onto your computer, and now you have kind of a customized list of the academic language that you want to create. So we're going to get back to academic language in just a little bit. The other thing that we've really been very focused on is making sure that we're truly backwards design, and we're not just listing the standards that we're meeting, but we're actually giving you the specific outcomes that we're meeting, right? So standard 1 is really our focus outcome. So outcome E18 is our focus outcome, and then the other outcomes that we're working here are really like collateral outcomes. So outcomes that we're addressing throughout the course of the activity, but not necessarily why we wrote the activity. And I'll show you where to find the focus outcomes once we get through with this particular activity. So as we go down, another thing that we understand is really important to most physical educators out there right now is the idea of providing an appropriate amount of academic rigor within the physical education classroom. So teacher evaluation systems are really built not specifically to any content area, but for all content areas, and physical educators are being evaluated based on the same academic rigor criteria that all of our classroom teachers. But the challenge is there's really not a lot of resources out there that translate what those rigor strategies look like in the PE classroom. So we wanted to infuse that into every single activity. So debrief questions are obviously nothing new to the physical education community. We've been doing debriefs for as long as I can remember. I've been teaching for a while, and then certainly folks who've been teaching longer than I have been doing quality debrief. But right now, the educational trend is to use Webb's depth of knowledge and the depth of knowledge levels 1 through 4 to build these debrief questions. So that's exactly what we did. So as you see where it says DOK 1, this is a question that was built for depth of knowledge level 1. So what is a skill? So students will basically give us a definition of the term skill, and then as we ask the next scaffolded question, how is practice related to skill? Now students have to think a little bit deeper, and they have to take the idea of what skill is and then really talk about how it's related to another concept, which is practice. And that's how we scaffold these debrief questions from level 1. This one happens to have a DOK level 4 question where they're creating a practice plan. Not all of them do, especially K through 2. It's not always practical for that grade level to take kids in a PE lesson all the way to DOK level 4. But it is important that we scaffold them and make sure that we're staying student-centered, and we're making sure that we're really prompting them to use some higher level thinking skills. The next piece down is a teaching strategy focus. So what we wanted to do here is take some of the best practices that are currently trending in education, not just physical education, but education as a whole. And we wanted to take those, infuse those, translate them for the physical education environment. So each one of these strategies, helping students elaborate on content, for example, that's one of Marzano's essential strategies for ensuring academic rigor in the classroom. So we've taken those strategies and we've crafted a paragraph to help explain maybe what this looks like with respect to this activity in the physical education environment as a whole. So every single activity within the open curriculum project includes these 2 critical pieces to help teachers really speak the same language as other teachers in their building, as well as their administrators, and hopefully, start to make sense of the things that you've been hearing in your professional development days around academic rigor. So that's an exciting piece. It's been really fun to develop, and we've had some really great people working on that project with us. So I'm going to go ahead and X out of this. I made some changes, but that's okay. I'm not going to save it. Here's our Dropbox viewer. I'm just going to X out of that. And so we're back to the foot skills menu. So I said I was going to come back to academic language. You can see down here all the module outcomes. So you have the complete module packet, our module overview, required materials, which is a list of the equipment and the resources that you need to complete this module. All of the module activities, so if you just want these activities in one PDF or one Word document, you can go ahead and download that. So this is you know, a great way to grab all those activities in one just click. A sample lesson plan, I'm going to come back to that in just a little bit, but now I made my way down to academic language cards. So we called out each one of those academic language terms on the specific activity. So I'm going to click on the Word document. The PDF document looks pretty much the same as the Word document. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this, and you're going to be able to see each one of those terms is created in a poster for you to print. We give the part of speech, we give the definition of the term, and then we go ahead and we use that term, you know, right here in a sentence so that there's some context for students to take a look at. So this is really a great way for you to go in, and you can see we've got a lot of these in each module. I can't remember exactly how many there are in this module. 22. So there's 22 different words that we've defined within the academic language of foot skills and developing foot skills for students. And we've crafted one of these cards for you. Again, it's Microsoft Word format. So like, let's say you get down here and we use the word, or I mean the name William. But you know, maybe you teach in a school where William is not a common name. We want to make sure that we're you know, allowing students to make sure that we're culturally congruent to their specific population of students. So I'm just going to do direct download. No thanks. Open with Microsoft Word. And then I can go in. Of course, this takes me to the very first one. It doesn't take me to the page I was just looking at. But this is a good example too. We could just go in. We could take out Harper, and we could put in Aaron. Right? So that's me. But whatever population that you work with, you can make sure the names match the names that are commonly used for your students and the culture that they live in. So it's a really good way to make sure that all of these things jive for where you are. Now the other thing is, we did our best defining these terms, right? We created terms that we felt were fairly universal. But if, for example, you have a better definition for center of the ball, you can just kind of go in and you can go and say, bam, I'm going to delete that. And you can type in your own definition, whatever that may be, and you can save it. So, you know, the one thing that I've realized over the last, 12 years of writing curriculum is that it's absolutely impossible for me, as someone who teaches here in Central New York. I primarily teach at the college level, and I coach, youth sports year-round. So I work with a very different population than folks are going to be working with in different parts of the country, or even the world for that matter. And so it was very difficult for me to say, this is the only way for you to do this. This is the only way for you to explain center of the ball. This is the only way for you to teach foot skills. And so I felt when I was putting this project together, it was really, really important that we gave teachers as much flexibility as we possibly could, with the content. So we're giving you a foundation that we feel is pretty strong. And then what you do from that foundation is really up to you. And we're hoping that as you work with our content, go through our content, and make it your own, you'll come back and you'll interact with us and share some of that information with us as well. Because if you're doing it in a different way and it's working really well for your students, there's a really good chance that somebody out there is in a similar situation and could benefit from the way that you're teaching. So definitely interact with us. Interact with us on Twitter and on social media, as well as through the website directly. So that's one part of this kind of open source project that we want to let teachers know is really important to the Development Council and the folks that are responsible for the future of what open is going to look like. And our hope is that that future will be crafted by the PE community. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to save that because that's a terrible definition. And I'm going to go ahead and click off that tab. A couple other things that I want you to take a look at really quick. If you want the equipment pack for this particular module, you can go ahead and say, take me to the basic equipment pack for this, and it'll take you to the US Games store, and just one click you can buy the basic equipment pack. So this is all of the equipment that you need to run this for a class size of 24. So that's another question that comes up quite a bit. How many students can we really work with this particular equipment pack? They're designed for 24, and if you have larger class sizes, you could double it. Now, really, I believe that if you bought one equipment pack, then it'd be pretty easy to really modify based on your numbers, depending on what you have and that sort of thing. So that's what this is built for. The great thing about the way US Games is approaching the entire open project is everything is teacher-centered. So some of the feedback that we've heard from folks who have purchased equipment packs in the past, and even equipment packs that they've purchased from us. So let's say they bought like a dribbling equipment pack or a basketball equipment pack, and they bought 14 of them for their entire district. Well, all the basketballs would come in one box, and all of the fluff balls might come in another box, and all the cones would come in another box, and then you have to spend time dividing all of those cones out for every single teacher, and it's very time consuming. So what we've done is we've created special packaging where this pack comes in its own box, specially and individually packaged just for this module. And if you order 14 of them, you're going to get 14 boxes that are all really packaged together. So all you're going to have to do is give one box to every teacher, and it's all pre-sorted, ready to go. And I'm really excited. We're just starting to ship those here in the next week or so for the very first time, and I'm excited to get some feedback from teachers who purchase those. So that's if you purchase an individual pack for this module. Now you can also purchase the larger equipment packs for all of the modules, and the great thing about that is the individual modules are still packaged separately. So if you buy all of them, you're still going to be able to look and say, okay, well, this is the soccer pack. This is the. So if it takes you a little while to unpack the entire thing, you're going to know exactly what you need to get to first. So that's pretty exciting. That's a pretty exciting way that, again, I think US Games is really showing that they're being teacher-centered on this entire project. I'm going to click off of that. Finally, I want to show you really quick before we get to some of the other parts of the project. I want to show you our lesson plan tool. So I'm going to open up in PDF the sample lesson plan that we provide. So there's a difference between activity plans and lesson plans. So the activity plan is just one activity that you use in order to meet specific outcomes. A lesson is a group of activities that you cluster together to form a 30 or 45-minute actual lesson for your students. So we wanted to create an easy-to-use lesson plan tool which would act as a cover page for your activities so that you knew exactly what the roadmap was moving forward for all of your activities. So focus outcomes. Let's say you choose 3 different activities, and within those 3, there actually is 15 different outcomes that you could possibly work towards. Well, it's impossible, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe there's a super teacher out there somewhere, but I believe for me teaching this, it would be impossible for me to really focus on 15 different outcomes in one lesson. So what I want to do is really narrow it down to, maybe 1, 2, or 3 outcomes that I'm going to look at. In this particular lesson that we created, we're going to work on a skill, and we're also going to work on personal and social responsibility. Those are the 2 outcomes that we want to focus on within this lesson. Same thing with targets. There's 12 different targets across 3 activities for you to really focus on. So I can't really cover 12 different targets in one lesson, so I took the ones that I wanted to take from each activity and I compiled them into the focus targets that I'm going to work on. Same thing with academic language. There's no way I'm going to cover 15 different terms. I picked 4. Really for a K through 2 lesson, you may just want to focus on 1 term and make sure you get that one down, right? So that can be built out any way you want. And then, of course, the assessment. So we're going to use the Foot Skills self-assessment. We'll take a look at that in a few minutes, but that is listed here as well. So again, it's just a cover page, a reminder. That's the front page of this, page 1. Page 2 is a roadmap. So one thing I think that most really good PE teachers understand is that if you don't have good management, I don't care what activities you have planned, it's not really going to work out well for you, right? So we wanted to make sure that our transitional notes were front and center. So the very first transition note talks about what happens when students enter the gym. All right, so as they enter the gym, this is what it looks like. This is how it's organized. This is what the students will do. And our first activity is an instant activity. After the instant activity is done, we're going to ask a really quick debrief question. From there, how do we transition from the instant activity on to learning task, the second learning task? So the second learning task is teacher says, and here's the debrief question for that. Then we're going to move into our third learning task with the transition notes. It gives the actual activity and then the debrief questions. And then finally, how do we transition into our exit assessment? So we were really excited about the way this roadmap really turned out, and the early feedback that we've gotten on folks using this is that's really helpful, and it really is exactly what they need with respect to making sure that it all ties together. So take a look at that, use it, and then shoot us some feedback on what you think and how it's working for you. So of course, that's a sample. You could use this in Word format. Let's open it really quick in Microsoft Word. It pops up. So again, here's the actual template. But if I want to use a different instant activity, for example, I want to go in and put in a different instant activity. The other thing too is a lot of folks have already great activities that they've been using for a long time. So if you have a book or a program that you've purchased in the past, there's a lot of great content out there that folks have invested a lot of money in. So we're not suggesting at any time folks should throw away content that they have, that they like, that they use. But you could use this lesson plan activity, so you could use an open activity here, and maybe you're a focused fitness district and you want to put in a focused fitness activity here, and so on. So it's another way to really be flexible with the way that you use this particular program. So that's the actual lesson plan, the sample lesson plan. But the other thing I want to draw your attention to is here we have blank lesson plan and activity plan templates. So it's that same exact format, but it's just a blank template for you, so you can go in and create your own. So we give you one sample lesson plan, and then really we feel like you all can go in and create the lesson plans from there on out. Eventually, we may take some of these lesson plans that the community submits and make those available so you can see how other folks are actually using the content. But we're not quite ready and set up to take that content yet. But that's something that's definitely planned for down the road. So I'm excited about the lesson plan tool, and I think that folks will find that really useful. So really quick, we've got a group of assessments too. We have a self-assessment worksheet, holistic performance rubrics. Here's our dual holistic performance rubrics. Check those out. The self-assessment is really meant to be really a formative assessment for students to go in and be able to take a look at where they are. This is really important too for me to kind of make sure that I make note of this. This is a written assessment. It's not very complicated. We're asking students to really choose their level based on where they find themselves dribbling. So at the beginning of the unit, where do you find yourself? I would not use this with my kindergarten students on an individual level. So really what we're asking you to do and how we're asking you to use this formative assessment is, take this self-assessment, and if you can, broadcast it up on your wall so that the entire class can do it together. So like kindergarten, first grade, you're really going to go through and say, okay, class, we just got done with our first dribbling activity. How do you really think that we did? And guide them through that process. Okay, well, what does this face mean? It kind of looks frustrated. You know, this is new to all of us, and we all wish we could get better. So this might be a really appropriate face to color in here for our pre-assessment. Where do we want to be? What is our goal the end of the year, right? Or for the end of this module, rather. Most students are going to want to be smiley faces. And then at the end, what does this look like in a post-assessment? Where do we think we made it? And hopefully they made it at least to the neutral face, and they can see some improvement. So again, kindergarten, grade 1, I would do this as an entire class project, not try to give a paper and pencil to every single student. Grade 2, if you've been doing that group work with grades K and 1, I would say grade 2 is probably a nice time to introduce this in selected modules. Maybe not every single module that you do, but selected module. So I wanted to point that out because some folks have seen this and said, hey, I can't do this with my kindergartners, but you have it in grades K through 2. Totally valid. And if you actually go in and read the module overview, which gives a background on how we designed everything for the module, you would actually see that that's how we suggest to use it as a group project at this grade level. So that's a little bit about the assessments. The holistic performance rubric, so I'm going to show you that really quick. This is really meant to be a summative assessment. So instead of really breaking down every single skill for a summative assessment, what we want to take a look at is the student proficient, competent, or maybe they're well below competence still at the end of this module? And it allows us to give them a rating from 1 to 4 based on where they are holistically at the end of the module. And what we found in most states now, students are really, in all content areas, evaluated based on this 1 through 4 rating scale. So my daughter, when she takes her language arts tests here in New York, and we get those scores back from the state, it's on this 1 through 4 scale. So we wanted to start to make sure our evaluations were matching with the evaluations of other content areas as well. So that's a little bit about the assessment pieces. And then the last thing I want to pull out is the teacher evaluation piece for this. So there's a reflection guide for every module. And I'm going to open this up in Word really quick. So our hope here is that teachers will use this tool to really reflect on how this module went. And if you're familiar with Danielson at all and the Danielson rubric, which a lot of school districts are using for their teacher evaluation piece, you'll know that there are 4 domains of teaching within Danielson. And so our reflection guide is built upon each one of those domains. So in planning and preparation, how do I think it went? How do I think it went as far as demonstrating knowledge of content in pedagogy within my planning and preparation for this module, and on through each one of Danielson's domains? So that allows you to reflect on that, and then at the end, give yourself a rating, a self-rating. So did you rock it, right? Did you take some of the content from Open? Did you utilize maybe things like YouTube videos, or maybe different apps that you could do for different sorts of assessments that maybe aren't not necessarily housed on Open, and infuse a lot of things that you've seen on Twitter and a lot of the great stuff that other folks are doing that would make you an innovator, right? So where do you really find yourself on this scale? And it's okay, right? This is a personalized thing. It's okay for you to say, you know what, I was really basic on this. I was making sure that I got the basics down and I was working towards the outcomes. That, in my mind, is a quality reflection, and you can build off of that. So what this also allows you to do is compare your reflection to maybe the evaluation that your administrator gives you based on the Danielson framework, if that's what you use. So one thing that we're doing around teacher evaluation and teacher reflection is we're taking a look at the different systems that districts use for teacher evaluation, because not everybody uses Danielson, not everyone uses Marzano, and we're getting feedback from folks out in the field, and we're trying to craft more reflection guides or customized reflection guides that you can really take and run with based on whatever system you find yourself using. So let me clear from that. That's in a nutshell how each module is built out. So if I were to go in and go to 3.5 and take a look at basketball skills, for example, and scroll down, you're going to see the same exact navigation, the same exact types of resources ready to roll. All right, so we wanted to make sure that it was user-friendly. Once folks got the hang of using the actual content, they felt comfortable with it, and then hopefully they also felt comfortable with customizing the content as well. So that's a lot. That's a lot of information to cover. I just want to go through a little bit more on site navigation so you know some of the other things that are available. We've already talked at length about the curriculum resources menu, professional development menu. So if you want to learn about on-site professional development, you can click on this and it'll talk a little bit about the trainings that we can come and do right at your district. I have to tell you that the response has been overwhelming and our professional development calendar is jam-packed. So if you're interested in professional development, please give us a call. Please talk to the U.S. Games team about that. But just be patient with us and know that we're going to fit you in on the first date available. It might not be your first choice, so have a few dates ready, to discuss. So professional development, on-site professional development, the open blog. If you want to go and check out all of the posts on the open blog, you can go through and check those out. There's some really good information, from some of our guest bloggers, and we're going to continue this series as well, and really start to unpack some of this, the ideas around what academic rigor looks like in the physical education classroom. So those blog posts will continue to develop. Open webinars, you all are familiar with this page already because you registered and you're on a webinar. So when we have webinars that are coming up, make sure you check back on here or you see us on social media and you come and register. Equipment packs, we already talked a little bit about equipment packs. I'm not going to go into a lot more detail there, but you can really just very quickly click over and you can see all of the equipment packs available. So here's the complete basic pack for K through 2, and you can go and bam, add that to your cart. You're ready to go. So that's equipment packs. Contribute to Open. So this is where you'll come to actually send us any ideas or activities that you have. So here's a blank activity template. If you want to send us, you have a great idea for a template, you just go ahead and download this, direct download, open it with Word, and you're ready to go to create your own activity there. Once you do that, you would save it to your computer somewhere. You come in, type in all of your information. All right. You can even submit ideas to us without uploading a file. So let's say you don't want to go through that entire process of using our template, but you have great ideas for a new module or great ideas on how to assess, for a specific outcome. You can go ahead and just, bam, type your idea in here and go ahead and hit agree and submit. Now, I want to make sure that everyone's clear on this. So when you send us stuff, for liability purposes and also to make sure that we're publishing things that have not been published elsewhere, really what you're doing is you're granting ownership of that work to U.S. Games. And, my rule of thumb around that for everyone is if you don't feel comfortable with that, that's okay. We really want to provide this as a service to everyone. So even if you don't submit content, use all the content that we have, right? Tell folks to go ahead and use it. But if you do want to share and you're not planning on, publishing a book or something like that, and you want an outlet for your ideas, this is a great opportunity for you to do that. So again, you can just go ahead and type in any idea you have here, and you can send it off. And starting in the fall, we're actually going to have a graduate assistant whose dedicated job here at SUNY Cortland is to just answering these submission ideas and organizing them and making sure that they're ready for our development council to review and then work with. So we're gearing up and hoping that this is going to be, something that folks really really embrace and help us build out. So that's the contribute to open section. About open, so there's a few things on here that you can really take a look at. You can see, about open partners, and within the open partners you can go in and learn a little bit more about US Games if you want. We have a core group of districts too that really have helped us launch this in a really strong way. And so these districts have agreed to professional development in the calendar year 2015, and their teachers will be exposed to all of the open project through professional development. And so that's a really exciting piece. Over 1 million students will come into contact with the teachers that we train just in 2015. So we're really just humbled by that amount of support by really great districts around the country. So that's a little bit about open partners. You can meet the development council. You can kind of come in and learn about all the good folks that have helped work on this. Helena Barrett's here at SUNY Cortland with us. Jim DeLine is an elementary school teacher in Austin, Texas. Lori Dunn is a fabulous administrator and also a teacher of the year in Seattle. Joey Fife is a great young teacher and social media superstar from Canada. Artie Camilla is just an all-around great guy and extreme PE advocate, and he has been a role model for all of us, I think, for quite a long time, and we really appreciate Artie's support. And then Nick Klein's a really good friend of mine and great PE teacher right here in SUNY in Cortland Parker Elementary School. Actually, he's an elementary school teacher there. So that's the crew of folks who's really dedicated a lot of hours to making all of this happen. Become an open partner. So if anybody out there listening is a part of a community foundation or a philanthropic organization, you can click on here, become an open partner, and you can fill out this form and let us know how you might be able to support the schools and the physical education programs in your area. If you are a PE teacher and you know of a local foundation or a regional, even a national foundation, let us know that as well, because we really are working hard to match up those foundations with school districts. So school districts who may not have access to funding for equipment or professional development, obviously they have the curriculum provided for free, but how do we make sure that we're teaching quality physical education with the correct equipment and the professional development to help support that infrastructure as well. So that's the become an open partner piece. And then finally, the contact open. So if you have any questions or if you need help with anything, you can go in and you can type in this form. That goes to a number of people on our team. I'm one of those people, so this form will actually come right into my desk. And I'll do my best to get back to you within 24 hours, or somebody on our team will get back to you within 24 hours. So one last thing, and we're really excited. The overall response from the physical education community has just been phenomenal. We've had thousands and thousands of teachers visit the site. They've downloaded well over 5,000 downloads at this point. And so I think it speaks volumes to, really the need in all regions of the country and even the world for that matter for quality content and accessibility of that content. And that's what we're really driven by. So, we want to make sure that everyone understands that this is an ongoing project. We're going to continue to develop as many modules as we can in order to meet all of the outcomes that you're working towards with your student. And it is a public service of US Games. It's an act of our partnership with the teachers that we serve. Now, our ask, in order to make this totally sustainable, obviously US Games has to continue to grow as a business and to do well, as a for-profit entity. And so when you're selecting equipment, we just hope you give us an opportunity to give you pricing, give us the opportunity to provide the hula hoops that you need for your program and that sort of thing. But that's really, there's no strings attached. There's no requirement to buy your equipment from us. but we hope you'll see the value in what we do, and you will, support us in that way. So, all right, I did it. 54 minutes, and we've gone through a lot of content. We'll be following up with an email shortly, within the next few days, just to say thank you and to make sure that we've answered all of your questions. In the meantime, if you do have any questions, or I didn't answer a question that you had, you can go in and you can go to the Contact Open, and you can send your questions through there. So as it comes up, I've got about 5 more minutes, and I am going to go through and see if there are any questions that have come up. So it sounds like some of the questions that have come up I answered later on in the presentation. But yeah, so one example question that came up: can you provide space for teachers to provide their own name, date, grade, etc., and even customize these even further? So that's a great question, and we've worked hard in making sure that these templates will look the same way across platforms. And of course, there's going to be outliers. So there may be an old version of Word out there somewhere where you open this up and it just looks crazy. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but I can't guarantee it. So this is a great example of, if you want to come in here and say contribute to Open, and I'm gonna, you don't have the person who submitted this question, you don't have to do this because I have all of the information that you sent in this question. But if you have ideas like that, like, hey, it would be really great if there was a field in this document for this, go ahead and, type, your idea right in here, fill it out, and hit submit. And then as we go through, we'll take that into consideration as we're kind of making revisions around this. So it might be as simple as, creating alternate templates that are blank, that are easy to copy and paste into. Now, the other thing that I want to mention around this is, this is all free, right? So if you are going to use this with your fellow teachers, so let's say you have a colleague who's a great teacher, always wants new content, but has no idea what a mouse is used for, right? They just are not computer people. They think tablets are like things from the Old Testament. So if you have folks like that, they're great teachers, want new ideas, print this out for them, photocopy it, and give it to them. If you're a district administrator and you want to make sure that your teachers have access, show them the site, make them aware of the site. But if you have teachers who are just not technologically ready for it, print out copies for them and let them have it. So, with that said, you can also cut and paste and create your own templates around this as well. So, there's lots of different ways that we're going to learn folks are using this. That's a great question. Thanks for asking it. And if you have other ideas similar to that, then go ahead and send that in there. That's all of the questions, I think. Oh, one more question here. Can you buy laminated academic language cards so you don't have to print them out and laminate them? I would pay for that convenience. So thank you for submitting that. We're contemplating making that available for folks to purchase, and it's a little project that what I'm really trying to do is wait until we have probably 4 or 5 more modules complete. And that way we have academic language really for as many of the outcomes as we can before we send this out. One thing I would hate to do, and it's inevitable, it'll happen at least a little bit, but I would hate to create half of the academic language you're going to need, sell it to somebody, and now they have to go back and buy the rest of them. So we're trying to make sure that that's all ready to go. Now, really quickly, I will show you this. The station cards for each module. So as I go in, and I didn't show you the station cards specifically. So as I go in and I load these station cards, and every module has a set of station cards. There's 6 station cards. These are, if you buy the equipment packs, these station cards are printed, laminated on cardstock, and included for free in the open equipment packs. So I'm glad you asked that question and it reminded me to really talk about that. So all of the station cards are there, but there are just way too many academic language cards for us to include in the equipment packs for free. So what we're trying to do is really create a separate product from that, and again, wait until it's more complete so that everybody gets a really great catalog of these words. So awesome question. All right. Thank you all very much. If you have more questions, use the contact us, and I hope you all have a really great night. Look for this recorded webinar sometime early next week so you can share it with other teachers out there and the rest of the folks in your districts. All right. Have a great night, and hopefully I'll be talking with you soon.